is Fatima Adamu, and I work with Isawali Empowerment Initiative as a programs manager, and also I work in cases of issues of protection and gender. What are my perspectives on the increase of rape and sexual and gender-based um, violence since the pandemic? I would say that some of the reasons that creates opportunities for abuses are the efforts being put in place to ensure public safety in terms of public health safety in terms of pandemics and epidemics. For example, if we look at the restrictions and the regulations put in place to reduce and ensure that there's no remote spread of the coronavirus, people are confined in spaces and allowed to close proximity to the people who actually abuse them, and so that creates an opportunity for abusers to thrive. We also notice that we have police being deployed to man entry points and borders of states, and so part of that responsibility creates opportunities for crimes to be committed, and so those are some of the opportunities. I wouldn't say that's exhaustive, but those are some of the situations that creates opportunities for violence and crimes to happen at the time of health pandemics. What are the recommendations for reducing or protecting women and children from abuses, particularly sexual abuse and rape in particular? I would say we must go back to our laws. It's been the UNCRC, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, provided legal protection, right, to children. And in 2003, Nigeria domesticated the UNCRC as the CRA, the Child's Right Act. And it's been 17 years after. About, I think, 16 states have not yet domesticated that law, and all of them are in the north, Kano State inclusive. And so if we want to provide protection for our children, we should look at the options of domesticating the Child's Right Act. Apart from that, in 2015, there was a more robust, more advanced law that took into consideration our current realities, and the definition of rape in that particular law is the most elaborate definition that there is currently in the country, and that is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. It was very clear. That particular law looked at the instruments that can be used for rape. It didn't restrict instrument or organ to the penis only. You could use other instruments. The rape locations wasn't just restricted to the vagina in that law. It also spoke about other points like the anus and the mouth. And so we should look at reviewing that law and domesticating it in our context to improve that. We should also look at child protection systems. What's the coordination like? What sort of services are available? How accessible are they? Are they present within the communities? Do the people have information? Do they know what to do when rape occurs? What are they supposed to do to even prevent it? What about services that are available when it happens, even starting from within the community? What is the justice system like? Do we need to improve on our criminal justice system? What are the things we need to put in place? We also need to look at government commitment and funding of these services. What is coordination like? The ministries or agencies giving the mandate to administer some of these laws, to what extent are they administering the laws? Do they have the human resources? What are the capacity gaps? What do we need to do to improve those capacity gaps? What sort of guardians or support does government really need to improve some of these services and policies and to put the system in functionality? So children, young people who are at risk of rape, is for a long time the burden has been on the girls. So what advice do I have for parents? I would say there's something called age-appropriate sex education. The children need to know the most important and vital body parts that they have, that they should have rights over. Nobody has the right to your body, and you do not have the rights to anybody's body. And so we must teach our children that, whether they're girls or boys. For a long time, we've been focusing on teaching girls how to protect themselves, how not to allow themselves get raped. We don't remember to tell our boys that they shouldn't allow anybody to rape them, or that they shouldn't even also rape anybody. And so we must focus on that discussion. And lastly, we should know that it takes a village. It takes a village. It is not the responsibility of parents only to protect the child. It is the responsibility of the community. Protection is a collective responsibility, just like security is a collective responsibility. And so for those members of the community, whether you're a father, an uncle, an auntie, once you see something, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something.